So we're here sitting with Brittany Wilson. I got to know Brittany a little bit, training her with Real, the team I'm currently coaching for. Got to see her a couple times. Got tremendous skills, a goalkeeper, fast as lightning, quick hands, can explode like crazy, and is currently on trial with a professional team. So, Brittany, fill us in, quick snippets, kind of what we already talked about of where you are, um, how it's been going. You don't have to go into crazy detail, but and then how it sort of got abruptly shut off.
For everyone.
Yeah.
And focusing on it from a very selfish perspective of how it's affected my life and my trial here. I mean, it's definitely a bummer. Like that first night, there's already been so many twists and turns in this journey. It's only been 4 weeks. When I came down here, there was only one goalkeeper contracted guaranteed, and then after 2 weeks of being here, there was another international goalkeeper that had been signed that I knew nothing about, which is okay. Like it was a smart decision for the club to go on, but like you said, it's when you really dig into how that messes with your psyche and how you deal with those things, it takes a toll for sure. And there's people were always warning me how complex and crazy this whole journey is going to be. And within the first week, I felt that I was up on a high because I'm meeting Marta and Cindy LaRue and all these people and getting to play with them. And I felt like I was definitely at that level and was able to compete. And then this would happen and that would happen. And it's a whirlwind. And it's hard to focus on what you're supposed to do. That's a huge challenge. So yeah, with this whole thing of now it's like, okay, that inner squad was going to be a big proving moment for me to be able to play in a game. And they'd only seen me in training and really looking forward to that. And for that to be cut, I was like, oh geez, like this is going to be a while. And then it keeps every day. There's new news of it just being delayed and delayed and delayed. And it's just, there's no certainty in what's going to happen. And there's just been no certainty in what was going to happen regardless, but this has definitely made it even more that way. So,
you're in a unique situation for sure. There's not a situation out there that's like yours.
Yeah.
And it does suck. It is a really stressful time. So what's now your mindset? Because obviously we're all in the same boat. We're all scared about it personally and everything like that. But at the same time, we expect this to be over.
Yeah.
And expect things to go back to normal.
Yes.
So what's your thought process? What's your mentality like right now? Are you able to train at 100%? Do you feel like it's holding you back a bit and it's stressful more than it is, like than normal?
I mean, I was talking to some of my teammates and I mean, we're able to train to a certain extent. Like we've been doing a lot of technical work, a lot of fitness and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, we don't know when this is going to end. So when do you peak? And I know, my fitness needs are very different from a midfielder or something, but that's who I'm training with. And they're like, okay, I get that I can do fitness every day and be super fit, but what type of fitness and when do I do this? Because it's very specific. And it's like, when do I peak? What kind of stuff can I work on? As a goalkeeper, as you know, it's very specific for training. Even with those girls who are on national teams, I can't tell them to go out there and run a goalkeeper session for me. They don't even really know how to hit a volley the right way as we do in goalkeeper training in the same way. And so it's just not that they don't know how to volley, but it's a different ball game. And so it's challenging because we can't be in big groups. I have, I'm down here in a different city than I've ever lived in. I have no soccer balls. I was lucky enough that I had a glove company send me some gear to try out, and they threw a soccer ball in there. So that's the ball I've been training with all week, and the ball that we all have. So it's
a couple
thrown a
challenges.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, because realistically, this is just the beginning. Like you said,
Yeah,
it's a roller coaster, and you're not even a few weeks in.
totally.
And to be fair, even if you got a contract, if you know you had one right now and it was
Mhm.
fat money and it was comfortable, I don't care if it said 5 years.
Yep.
There's a likelihood that it could change in 6 months.
Oh, totally.
And again, always knock on wood,
Yeah.
but there's injuries, there's personal things, there's team coaches that switch, organizations change, organizations have folded and lose
Mm-hmm.
money.
Yeah.
I played a lot of different places, but the most interesting was in Thailand. I
Mm.
had guys who would come from the craziest countries like
Yeah.
Serbia, Bosnia, and there's big pro soccer there. I mean, like Serbia gets crowds of 60, 80,000 people.
Okay.
It's what number one sport, but you hear stuff like teams decide not to pay players anymore, and they didn't pay them for 4 to 6 months. And you got guys who have
Mm.
a house, they got a family, they got a car, and they're
Yeah.
not getting any. And the team just says, "Hey, you got to keep playing." And of course, you're gonna keep playing. You got no
Yeah.
choice. You can't. Your career can't be affected.
Yeah.
But with every game that goes by and every day you're not getting paid, it
Mm.
starts to eat away at how you perform, how you think,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot out there. There's a lot of difficulties that I think that industry provides, and it's not always up in your control at all. Um,
Totally.
I've had the same situation where I'm on trial, and yeah, I'm the only one there at the moment, and they're giving me the best story. Hey, you're
Mm.
doing great. We think you got a spot. Suddenly 3 goalies roll in the next week for trial, and
Yep.
I'm looking at these goalies and I'm going, man, these guys are pretty good. I'm a
Yeah.
little worried, and now I'm thinking, shoot, I got no hope because if they brought him in, that means I'm not doing the job.
Mm.
Suddenly I start questioning it, not doing well. And the funny thing is, those three might have just been passing through.
Yeah.
You might have just known the coach or the buddies that played and then not even staying.
Yeah.
But very easy to psych yourself out.
That's so true.
And
That's so
that's
true.
the thing that I messaged you, a couple weeks ago, because I just think everyone that's going out there and your situation is so exciting, so unique, because you're at, like we said, you're banging on the door. You're outside Orlando FC's door, and you're saying, "Let me the hell in.
Yeah.
I deserve a contract. A,
Mm.
I'm gonna outwork everyone else in there. B,
Yeah.
and what do you got to lose, right? I came all the
Yeah.
way out from 5 states away,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, they've heard the stories before.
Yep.
It's a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of inside stuff that you wouldn't think. You're thinking just perform. I got a job. It's
Yeah.
not always that simple. They're looking
Mm-hmm.
at how you react to stuff. So
Yeah.
if a coach comes up to you, after 10 days in, or you go up to him and you say, "Hey, coach, I need some feedback," and he says nothing to you. He says, whatever, you're doing good. Just keep going. Do you come back the next day on fire, or do you come back mediocre? And that's what they're going to look for. They're going to try to weed out some of those. Did you just get pounded 6-0 with your 6v6, and then you're patting your defenders on the back and you go, "Nah, don't worry about it. We'll get them next time," and then you come out and get them next time?
Yeah.
Those are the things that they want to see, and they'll never tell you.
Hmm.
So they're either gonna give you less information and hope you get it,
Yeah.
or give you absolutely just nothing and hopefully push you down for you to pop back up.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
and
that's a really good perspective too, because you asked me like, what's my approach to this? How am I controlling what I can? And I feel like obviously this is my first year, and so I want to ask you more about your experiences and what you've gone through and what it's been like. But even from my few weeks here, I think it's been really helpful to look at the girls who have played here when the league folded,
right,
have gone through that uncertainty, played overseas, came back, all those different aspects. I mean, there's one girl on this team, her name's Allie Riley. She played on the team when the league folded.
yeah,
She played it here when the league folded, then went overseas, had that battle, went on another team
yeah,
overseas, sat the bench, came back, all this different stuff. And to be able to look at those players as leaders and see how they react to things and see how they lead. Because as you like, I'm sure you think this as well, like goalkeepers are naturally supposed to be leaders. Like we have to have a voice. If we don't have a voice, we shouldn't be here.
Exactly.
And so to be able to go into this environment and have that voice and use those people as resources to look at like, hey, how are you dealing with this? How are you supporting these players? How are you dealing with losses or doing really amazing? And I think the most calming thing in a way is to know that these girls who have been here for 10 plus years, been in this league, making good money, they still have horrible days. They still whiff the ball. They still, you know, have days where their mentalities aren't exactly right, but it's exactly like what you said. It's like, okay, what can you do next? How do you react to that? Do you come back better? And the best of the best that I've gotten the luxury to train with, they respond even higher and even higher each time. So it's cool to see that already. Even though I haven't had those experiences myself, it's been awesome to hear their stories and hear what they've been going through. So probably similar to your stories as well, with all the different teams that you've been on and experiences that you've had.
It's funny because when you say like you haven't gone through that, you really have.
Mm-hmm.
If you get down to every day, which when I played, I broke every single day down. At the end of the day, what was good, bad, ugly. And then when you do that, you erase it. But if you don't know if you did good yesterday. So then the next day, you're going in either not confident or overconfident. As I go in yesterday, I was terrible at crosses. I was slow. Okay, tomorrow, that's my focus. Then I reanalyze. Did I get a little bit better at those? If not, go back to it. If not, okay, what else did I fudge up that day? Because it's every single day for me. You know, and I'm sure you've had those games, those 66 3v3s where you lose and you go away the rest of the day, you're miserable.
Yeah.
You're not a happy person. And like you got the other team's going to be posting pictures and they're going to be talking about it. And I'm miserable the whole day until the next morning I come out and smash them. And then I do the same to them. And that's what the position's about. That's what's the most exciting thing. And I think you're right. The people who've gone through it and they're still standing, they're a wealth of knowledge, you know, and I wish I could say I was still standing, but I got, you know, I started young and I decided I went through enough and I proved it to myself that I could go through sort of any challenge. And I think the best coach who ever said it to me, he said it best. And it was John Pasquarella. He coaches now in the USL for Kansas City. He was the goalie coach for Sporting KC. And I'd gotten to go on trial with them for about 2 months.
Awesome.
And I remember I came in, this was me, I was a young, hot 25-year-old coming from Europe thinking I was fit for a second. And I came in to a very stacked Sporting KC team. Now, they had Graham Zusi, they had Matt Beasler. I mean, they had every player that's, you know, good was on that squad. And I had come in, and I just came in with my own attitude. I couldn't change it. I came in with hot-headed, but ready to prove something. And, you know, and I just remember I let a goal in one time and I screamed like we all do. God, whatever, son of a. And I get up, JP comes over with a smile and he goes, dude, you're an idiot. I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, not only do you know you made a mistake, the whole stadium knows that you just up. So he's like, even if some dumb grandma that doesn't know football clapped their hands because it was a whatever, you just said that was all your fault, clearly. And he basically was telling me, you gotta fake it till you make it. It was you can't show those emotions, those roller coasters. You can't make the save and be hot and be on top, down. You just got to float in the middle, and you know you made a mistake. The goalie coach knows. Nobody else needs to know. And that's something that I've always been able to survive on. I've always been able to survive on. I self-analyze. I find out what I did wrong,
Yeah.
but I don't need other people to tell me. That's too,
Mm.
like, I respect the impact, input, but really I know myself way better. And
Yeah.
so you know yourself way better. If I say, hey, go and do 100 squats because that's what you need,
Hmm.
you might say that's not what I need. All
Yeah.
I gotta do is do crosses with the ball.
Yeah.
And it's gonna apply. You're gonna know how you get better a lot quicker than if I'm just telling you.
Totally.
So like, for example, you said a little bit about what your coach was saying and giving feedback from the tryout.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of times, again, if I'm thinking from a goalie perspective and some of the things I've experienced, a goalie coach who wants to sign you
Hmm.
is not going to want to tell you you're great,
Mm.
because what's going to stop you from going to New York or to some other better market?
Yeah.
Say, hey, Brett, you're doing so great. Oh my God, we want to give you the best contract. Then
Uh-huh.
you're gonna call someone up and be like, hey, is there more money out in Philadelphia? Like, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I have gone to a team, was doing my best. My agent pulls me out, takes me to the team across the street, basically.
Yeah.
Suddenly they hear about it. The original team starts upping the money. And
Hmm.
then there's a little bidding war, and then that's the politics of soccer. But for
Totally.
yourself, a goalie coach is either not going to give you much because he wants to keep you, or he's not going to want to give you much because he wants to see how you react. That's all.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think that's the only part you can control.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
because the only way to not think is to overthink, essentially.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Well, you were talking about with the roller coaster too. That's exactly how every day feels. You'll even to the minute details. It's like, okay, you'll complete this pass and it'll be sick, and then you'll
yeah,
miss this next. You know what I mean? Just everything's a roller coaster. But if you can kind of find that middle ground of, okay, I know this happened and I know that happened down there, but what can I focus on right now? Because that's all we have. I feel like it's the hardest thing to do. Ideally, it sounds like such a great concept, but it's not always simple, especially,
yeah,
if we're as competitive as we are. And, we try to be perfectionists because as goalkeepers, you make a mistake, you're scored on.
yeah,
So although perfectionism can bring you down, it's also a thing you kind of have to play around because you kind
yeah,
of have to be focused on all those details. So
yeah. It's a definitely a balance, and you're right. I was the same. I had to float. There's a line that I had to float for, and they call it your zone, right?
mm-hmm.
And that's where you're at your peak,
Yeah.
physically, mentally, everything. When the ducks are swimming in the water, right?
Yes.
You can't see their feet flap at all, but their
Yep.
feet are going like crazy.
Okay.
So it's the
Yeah.
same idea of like underneath, I was panicking. I was literally having panic attacks.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see it on my face. You would see confidence. You'd
Yeah.
see me supporting guys. You'd see me like in the moment. And I had to float in that stage. If I went too insecure and too in my inside in my head,
Yeah.
I wasn't in the right frame. If I went over the top and I was just like, fuck you, I wasn't doing well either. And
Yeah.
that little getting in the zone was sort of like, it's sort of what you have to get. And that's when you just know, like, your body feels good. I'm stretched. I made that mistake, but what's my plan next? And you start
Yeah.
developing your own little state, because you're the only one out there. You're on the field. It's you. Your coach
Yeah.
is far. Everyone else is far away. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to make decisions in that moment that can change everything.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what you're thinking and feeling, then how are you going
Yep.
to make a decision? How are you going to make a change?
Totally.
If you're like, I
Yeah.
don't know that, like, my kicking is off because of this, my step or whatever, and you just do it. I did that for a while. My goal kicks, I couldn't kick a goal kick at 30 worth my life. After 20
Yeah.
years of kicking,
Totally.
not kick it to the halfway line.
Okay.
And I went to my goalie coach, and he said the usual thing: kick more, kick harder, kick farther, do reps, be out there ruining your body for no reason.
Yeah.
Finally, I had a really good teammate who said, hey, Deva, I just watched you kick. You're doing this weird thing with your step foot. You're just stepping too close or whatever he told me. So I was like, wow, I didn't even feel that, notice it. I changed that little thing. I stepped right, swing through. It was like I'd never missed a day.
No way.
It was unbelievable. And I was like, wow. His name's like JJ Greer. And he said it, and I was like, wow, you just like cured me of something.
No way.
And then I start thinking about stuff, everything I'm doing. If you can know what your left foot's doing while you're stepping to the right, and you can control it more or less, then in the moment that takes a deflection, you at least know what your left foot's doing to be able to change it. But a lot of times we just react. And when we react, we don't really got the composure. So
yeah.
So then let's go to this. When did you decide you wanted to play pro?
I feel like it was a decision that kind of went up and down. I don't want to say always. So like we were talking about earlier, it's all about timing. It's a little bit about luck, to be honest. Like my team growing up was so successful. I was on one of the best teams. We all ended up going over to Real. Some of the girls I played with up until college, I'd played with since I was 3 years old. We just got on a good team. Our coach coached his daughter, who also played collegiately, so he knew the ins and outs of everything. And we were able to get really good coaching at Real. Like, I loved Real. I'm not just trying to plug that. Like, I really did enjoy my time there, and our team was awesome. And I think we had really good coaching, and we're able to just be on that national stage. I was talking to one of my teammates the other day, and we were talking about Alex Morgan and all these girls that are the girls,
Right.
And we were talking about just like the mentality behind that and the perspective behind that, and how I genuinely feel like they're so good because people have always told them they're so good. Like, I feel like I got good as a goalkeeper because I was on a team that was so good, that was nationally ranked. I'm like, oh, I must be really good. And then I believed in myself more, which then transferred into me training more and believing in myself more. I feel like there's that underlying sense of being told that you're good boosts you up another level to where you just try new things that you wouldn't try before and just finally get better at all these little aspects. I feel like it's not necessarily just like, oh, this person works harder than the other person, or
right.
It's timing, and it's getting that belief kind of put on you, but also then changing it into self-belief as well, and taking that along with you on your journey.
See, that's wild. I love that perspective.
Yeah.
Because I agree fully. I agree that it's, I always told people, and I still do, I was not a good soccer player at all.
Really?
I had zero natural abilities growing up. I mean, if you saw where I was raised, it was in the middle of North Florida, in the middle of country town with farms, and we lived on a bunch of acres, and we all played soccer, but it was all rec. All the local teams are still rec. They're not even, if there is competitive, it's maybe one top team.
Wow.
So it's one of those towns that you grow up, you go to high school, and you play high school, and that's it.
Yeah.
I was the second in my community of soccer players who went to college in the last 20, like the other guy, I know him, great friends with him, but he was like a town legend because he went to, and he didn't even go out of the state. He stayed in the state. Wow. So for me, it didn't count. I'm like, dude, you got to jump abroad of the states. Yeah. But so it was like, I had no natural ability, but I had parents that were dedicated to get me to training. So I had the same story. My mom would drive me 2 hours to Orlando. Wow. I grew up 2 hours north of Orlando.
Oh, that's crazy.
In Gainesville, Florida. Huh. And so I would drive. The only good competitive soccer was in Orlando. So I did all my youth soccer there. So I know all those different fields and that. I know that the football there and soccer's there is very popular, and it's high competitive. You got a lot of different cultures and ethnicities that are competing there that are not competing in Colorado.
Yeah. That's fair.
And so the same idea, I never had this, I was never that initial player that in the team, they'd be like, oh my God, I got to scout that and look at that kid and whatever.
Yeah.
I was the kid that was just, I was there. I was always training. I was always just put me in. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to make some crazy stuff happen. And I'm going to come back and do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I just sort of built my own self-confidence and I kind of set my bar super high. Obviously you have to go through those challenges, but it really is your own bar or who puts it up for you. Because if I
Yeah.
say, hey, Brittany, you can be president of the United States tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I say it enough times, you will start doing at least some Googling of how you start.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a subconscious thing. It's on the front of the brain. It's on the back of the brain. It's in every part of the brain of having. It's visualization essentially.
Yeah.
It's
So true.
someone telling you, putting it in your head, and then you telling it yourself over and over, replaying that video.
Totally. You know what? Clint, actually, the goalkeeper coach, this is basically how we met, told me to read this book in high school, and I'm blanking on the name, but it's what we're talking about, just the psychological perspective behind how people achieve great things.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing. I'm gonna get back to the name, but
Is it Mind Gym?
They spoke about how, this team, basically like what you were saying, this one town, it was a town or country where nobody had ever, I'm just going to use an example, it's definitely not what was in the book, but is along the same lines, like nobody had ever played professional football from this town.
I know
And
what
then
book
the
that is.
moment that first guy does, then like 10 other people from that specific town do the same thing. And it's because you're like, oh, I've seen that can happen. You believe in yourself more. And it's just, you're so right on with that visualization of just kind of thinking about it more and making it happen, and standing there and being willing to make those mistakes, like going into those environments where it's terrifying and most people won't go, and you're going to screw up 800 times, but you're going to get better,
I'm curious. Is this it?
Yeah, I think that might be it. Yes.
I'm pretty positive it is.
I'm pretty sure it is. It's a pretty popular book. I remember I listened to it on audiobook going to school every morning.
It's the people, because Outliers are the ones that they dismiss. They're considered not so good, and but if you're able to tap into their psyche,
that is it.
Tremendous book. You gotta read that one, and there's one called Mind Gym. Very simple.
Mind Gym. I've read that one too.
Best book. I read that probably once a year.
I should read
I was given that to me by one of my best friends, Carlton, who NFL player actually.
Nice.
And I had been going through one of the worst career things in my life, and he just stopped by one day. Didn't say much. He just stopped by. He goes, "Hey, you need this book. Take it." And then he says, "When you're done with this book, pass it on. Don't keep it." And I've probably owned 8 of them in the last 4 years. Yeah, because I keep giving them away to whenever I have it. I'm just like, hey, take it. Like,
that's awesome.
It'll change your life. It simplifies the psychology.
Yeah.
Psychology is so simple, but you got to figure out what works for you.
Totally.
And that comes from trial and error. For myself, it was trial and error. For some smart people who are scientific can probably just read the data and go, I'm not going to touch the hot burning stove.
Yep.
Where I'm the guy, I got to touch it to know.
Yeah.
And so, but it's all out there, all the data, all the information, and those kind of books really put it in perspective. And even though it's soccer or football or baseball, having those mental strengths, again, it's 90% a mental industry, and yet we train 100% physical. And it's funny, you'll hopefully you'll see this in the professional game. There is absolutely no mental training, no psychology training. Maybe if you're in Man City, Man United, those top, you'll get your personal psychologist.
Yeah.
But I did not see it in 12 years of playing, 5-6 countries. Yeah. And it's their psychology, it's so far behind for the sport, what to speak of the position.
Yeah.
Goalkeeping is is a very complex position,
It is, yeah.
and it requires insanity and absolute brilliance and combined. And that's
Yeah,
it's a combination that can be deadly.
yeah, yeah.
um,
That's so true. That is hilarious that you said that because I coached this little boy today out here in Florida. I had some family friends down here and found this little kid that is a goalkeeper, and we did some personal sessions and was talking to his mom after, just me and her, about how he gets really nervous and how he's super self-conscious and all these things. But um, we were just talking about like the mentalities of goalkeepers and what they need. And it was so funny because I was trying to explain it. She's a soccer player and she gets it, but it's like the position is so different because you
right.
have to be absolutely insane, but also so sane at the same time to be able to
Right.
control your emotions and all these things. So it's like the weirdest dichotomy of emotions and all these things. But
Yeah.
hey,
I mean,
it's fun.
it's it was kind of bad, but my best goalie coach I ever had, he was Bruce Grobbelaar. He played for Liverpool, and
Okay.
I watched him. This is how old he was. I watched him on VHS in my early years. Like I knew all about him, all of his games, and he was bald as could be at like 20.
Oh,
And so I thought he was old as anything, but he ended up being my goalie coach in 2015, and like
okay.
he was nuts. He won everything. He won Champions League with Liverpool in Rome.
Oh,
He had been in the Premier League finals. He's a legend. And he remember saying to me, he's like, you're either gay or you're a goalkeeper. Or you're crazy. No, he goes, you're either gay or you're crazy to be a goalie. And then
oh.
he goes, which one are you? And I was like, crazy? I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say,
Crazy.
but
I don't know.
I don't know if I can say that anymore in
Yeah.
these times. But it was just so funny that it really was. And this guy was nuts. He would do stuff like wear his shoes on his ears, and he just made such fun of the position. That's what I always remembered.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's such a dichotomy of a position, but really, you can create what you want out of it. That's what I have also realized at the end of my career. I became very wise when I finished playing,
Yeah.
as you do.
Yes.
You never get to know in the moment. You're always in a glass box. But I realized after I could be what I wanted to be. I was letting myself be confined by people telling me what I should be, by what I looked at as Ashlyn Harris to be, as Hope
Mm-hmm.
Solo to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I realized you can be original and completely different, and it's something. I mean, there's only one De Gea, there's only one Hope Solo, there's
Yeah.
only there wasn't one of them before that, and
Yeah.
that kind of changes the way you act. It changes the way I am. There's only going to be one of me at Real,
Yeah.
um, and as much as I love, doing what I'm told, I'm always going to be a stubborn person with a chip on my shoulder that wants to do it my way, my voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always going to have that way. And that's sort of like what you have to create. You have to create your
Yeah.
own personality and your own drive that is not similar to anyone else, but surpasses them. You
Yeah.
want someone to go, hey, whoever the goalie is there now, Orlando, she's a Ferrari. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But we got this new model Bentley or whatever that
Yeah.
just came in that we didn't even know we want,
Yeah.
but we want it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's no, that's huge because on a very, I don't know, just goalkeeping perspective, I think it was the first or second session I had with Ashlyn here. She was doing this one thing in her dive, and I was asking her, like, how do you do that? Like, do I need to implement this and that? Just trying to, like, learn from her a little bit. And she's like, look, Britt, like, this is the way I do it.
Yeah.
But every goalkeeper is so different. Like, myself and, you know, Alyssa Nayer are going to do completely different things, and we're completely different goalkeepers. And so that point is really important because I think, especially coming in as a rookie, we put these people on pedestals.
Oh
And
yeah.
not to say they're not good or not special, but at the same time, they're just
They're human.
people. You know, Ashlyn Harris wasn't Ashlyn Harris before she just made herself who she is. If you followed that at all, I don't know. But yeah, that's a huge point, because it's like, I look at it as like, okay, Ashlyn's here and I'm just like starting off, so I've got to learn from her and follow in every footstep. And it's such an important thing to learn from her. And I think she's amazing in so many ways, but also be myself and believe that I can be Brittany Wilson. I don't have to be Ashlyn Harris.
Right.
So
no, that's a big one. I mean, I had that same thing when I was at Sporting KC. I feel like that was my proudest moment, because I went in, and it was also kind of embarrassing because I didn't know any of these players that I was supposed to know. So, for example, Zusi, Graham Zusi, I was supposed to know who this guy was, but I did not. All right, Beasler, Matt Beeler, actually, Colombian, was making $3.5 million or something that year. I didn't know who the guy was. Never heard of him. You know, played for like I think it was Colombian or Honduran national team. All these stars, right? And I just remember, Dom Dwyer was there. I knew of him, and he went to my same school, and so we got on a bit. But man, my brother called me and goes, "Hey, can you go and get Zusi's autograph?" I go, "Which one's Zusi?" He's like, "The guy with the long hair and ponytail." I was like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy. I call him G or something." And the cool part about it, though, was that allowed me to be comfortable when I was there.
Yeah. Because
that allowed me to treat Dom Dwyer the same way I treat Jimmy John down the street that I train with.
Yeah.
And I swear I did. They had to tell me to shut up the second day because I talk shit to all the strikers during shooting drills, which I was a rookie. I was day 2, but I didn't give a fuck. That's how I performed. And when I blocked Dom Dwyer's shot point blank, I got up and said, "What do you get? You can't score me." And when I stopped these guys trying to chip me in, I would punt the ball out of this. Like, I would do stupid things. I had the goalie coach come up to me and say, "Hey, you got to chill. Like, these guys are national stars and they're going to yell at you." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but like, I'm trying to steal their money," is what I said. And I said, "They're not going to let me take their job.
Yeah.
And unless you tell me I got it, I got to steal it."
Yeah.
And that's the only way I ever went in. A coach told me one time, when you go to a tryout, you got to go like the jersey is there with your name on it already. You already see David Legore sitting there, and all you got to do is go out and just and earn it. And that motivated me when I was there, because I'd be in a locker room in a different country or state, or with 30 different people coming in every single day. You know, you're hearing stories. So-and-so got cut. So-and-so got signed. And it didn't matter. For me, I was in my comfort zone. I was in my own little backyard training. I was in my little element. And so the psychology of just changing your mindset and your environment it's possible. It's easy. It just takes practice, like training how to kick or punt, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Again, I go back to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
It seems you have a goal. That's what it seems. You're across the country. Mm-hmm. You're training in new environments. You're going through all this. You're pushing for it. But do what the hell you want. Go for, if you're going on the field and they're not giving you feedback and things aren't going well, do what makes you comfortable. If you have to be a wild maniac to feel in your comfort zone, do it. I mean, before games, I would sit in a corner and play music loud and be singing and like screaming and dancing. Like, I was a maniac and sometimes, but I got to my comfort zone. Yeah. And if someone told me, "Hey, don't do that," I would tell them to f*** off. And so you gotta just, again, like you said, there wasn't an Ashlyn Harris. There isn't a Brittany Wilson yet. It's that easy. It just changes from you signing a stupid contract. But they're not going to give it to you. You got to steal it. You literally have to go into someone's house, their stadium, and say, I'm going to steal your position, right? Like I went to my Barry University is where I went to my last 2 years and played in Miami. And I still love it talking to my buddies that were there because I went in day one of tryouts, literally walked up, team was there stretching, sitting there, and they all go, what's your name? So I go, hey guys, I'm David Legork, I'm your new goalkeeper. And it was the most cocky thing I could have said. And I don't think I didn't plan to say it. I was like, I'm your new keeper. And they laughed, just like you laughed. And I was supposed to be there like 4-day trial or something. And I think after that session, the coach offered me a position. I swear. And I still talk to these guys about it. They go, man, remember that time you came up to the whole team, 22 guys, and said, you're going to be the new keeper? And I said, yeah. I mean, that wasn't a surprise for me, though. I would walk into every room saying, this is mine. And I'm either going to walk out with feeling like I was robbed of mine, or I'm going to walk out with something. And that's the part. You're there. You're all there, but you're not guaranteed nothing. You got nothing to lose. You got everything to gain. So when you think you got nothing to lose, it changes stuff. When you start thinking, I deserve feedback, I deserve to be in that game, or I deserve the better defense. I used to think that. I'd be like, yo, why don't you give me the stars, man? You're giving me the shite defense. But then I stopped thinking all about that, and I said, you know what? There's the ball, there's me. Keep the ball out of the goal. That's it. And so I'm glad I got to talk to you. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
For one, this is going to be my mascot. So he's a nutcracker. I don't know. I had it, and I was like, you know what? He's my show mascot. He's going to be every single one. But I need help naming him. So I'm going to ask everybody to help name him, and then eventually come up with the best.
Oh, no.
So hold on. Let me get his mouth going.
And
it can be dumb. Like the first two names I came up with was Frederick and Philippe, because he's got the stash.
Philippe. I know. He does look a little, we'll say... Kareem.
Kareem. How appropriate.
This is Cognitive Soccer. If you're not getting better, then what are you doing? You're watching Cognitive Soccer. Now go wash your hands. Nope. You're watching Cognitive Soccer and your hands smell